Let me get this right. Hold on a sec. Good morning, everybody. Are you ready for the deepest analysis of the markets available on the web? I'm just kidding.
Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Jared. As you guys may notice... Let me get this right. Hold on a sec. Good morning, everybody. Are you ready for the deepest analysis of the markets available? Here we go. All right. You may have noticed already, right up above me here, that's not Norm, and I am not Carlos. We are, however...
That is not Carlos.
We are, however, Jared and Peter. We're here to take you through the pre-market prep show. Norm and Carlos have the day off. We wish them well. Carlos is going on a big, long hike. Hopefully he'll be safe out there. I was telling Carlos last night I was watching an episode of the Eco Challenge Fiji, the toughest race in the world. I hope his hike is absolutely nothing like that. All right, Jared, how you doing this morning?
Doing pretty well. I've got everything set up according to standards. I've got my coffee on the side, so let's get this show started.
All right, sounds like we're ready to go. Sounds good. Okay. Well, guys, let's start and take a look at yesterday. If I look at the SPY overall yesterday, remember, it was a red day. We were actually in the red all day. But if you look at the chart, especially what I've got, this is yesterday's chart I've got on the screen here, it actually wasn't a bad day to trade, at least in my opinion. Started a little rough. I found a little choppy in the pre-market, and unfortunately, Andrew found that out with Apple as he got caught in all of this up and down chop as he was trying to trade Apple in the morning. But after we let it settle out, there were some good plays. I had a good trade on VRTX. I actually managed to get an extreme reversal off of this, and that's one that I didn't ride all day, but could have. But you can see there was a good open trade. If you caught it, great bounce off of VWAP. You could have taken it all the way up. I actually just traded this sort of part down, but there was a good opportunity on that. What else? A play I know is one that several members of the room played very well. They played play. And in fact, there's a couple of reversals, and I think Thor was holding this overnight and was pretty happy with the results. His play is on our gappers list, I understand, and it's gapping up quite a bit. Not as much as it was earlier, but we're still at 8%, so not bad.
Yeah. Play ended up being really nice. It came down to a nice little daily pivot area and had a nice volume event. So Thor and I kind of took advantage of that with a call out from one of the members in chat. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, and for those of you that know me, you probably know this pattern. What are you seeing here? Right, a beautiful mountain pass pattern. Very clear articulation of the double bottom off of a key level, and you could have played this on the way back up. So I wasn't watching it at the point, but if you were, great opportunity there. Facebook was another opportunity. Jared, I think this is one that you traded a couple of times off these bottoms with some significant levels. So nice trades there for a few people, especially going into that last hour of the day. So that provided some opportunity. Mm-hmm. Oddly, my best trade of the day was on CCL, which wasn't in play per se, but I just saw a nice steady pattern. I actually took it short sort of after I saw the top, and then I saw it riding up this moving average. I took a risk because I had a great risk to reward, took it short here, and was able to ride it all the way down. So not a huge mover, but if you play it with the right risk and right size, this ended up being a 7 or 8 R trade for me, so no complaints on that. It was pretty good. So with that, let's take a look at what we've got on the markets today. I'll just orient you guys. I had to go back to a different screen since I don't have the same setup as Carlos, but we do have the gappers up and down right below me. You can see right there. I'm going to put everything that we're trading over on the over on my watch list over here, and we'll take a look and see what's happening, and then we'll track the stocks up here for the 1 minute chart and down here on the daily for everything we're looking at. Why do I have a strange line down there? I don't know. So let's get rid of it. All right. With that, what have we got on the gappers? Let's start with Sava, which is the top of the gappers list here for this morning. It was in the news a couple of days ago. If I remember, it was an Alzheimer's drug. I thought they were coming to market. Is there some new news on Sava to have it jumping up this morning? Not Norm?
Let's see. Benzinga is not showing me anything. This may simply be a technical breakout. We had a really large gap up and then 3 days of lower volume pullback consolidation. It was holding the 6.5 level pretty well on the second pullback day, and then we get a nice gap up today. So barring any other information, I think this may just be a technical breakout.
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of analyst upgrades, but nothing major. So this could be just a continuation move based on that previous. So we'll see. I'm really not liking these wicks here pre-market. These ones here, these are all ugly, but it is pre-market, so maybe I won't hold that against Sava. Sava's close to being a low float. I see about 22 million shares on the float. You can see that down here, guys. See the float, 22.3 million shares. So that's on the edge of what I would consider a low float. So that would make me a little skeptical of trading it. You just have to be cautious if you're trading something like that.
A few people are saying insider purchasing going on in Sava, so that could be a bullish catalyst if insiders are buying up stock at these elevated levels.
Yeah, well, that's always a good sign if the insiders are buying, so they're seeing an opportunity. I realized I got very excited here jumping into the stocks, and what I didn't do is the market overview. There you go. See, Jared knows. He was too polite to say anything. So here, why don't we why don't we go to the market pulse, and we can start by taking a look at the SPY overall, and maybe Jared, you can take us through that. Whoops, SPY. Here we go on the daily.
Alrighty, so looking at the SPY daily, we're kind of sitting in an area that most would consider a pretty tight range. We have the 50 moving average on the daily holding support for a second time yesterday. And then we have what most people use is the 9 and 20 exponential or simple moving averages above us to define the top of the range. I would say anything, above yesterday's low is going to keep us within this range, and anything below about 342.5, which was defined by 3 candles on the sell-off around the 2nd through 4th, I believe. Those 3 tops define the top of our range. So we have a pretty wide range to work off of. It's mostly about whether we can hold these levels, and anything in between might be a little choppy at times.
Yes, indeed.
Then we can take a look at a QQQ if you'd like.
Sure.
So QQQ, similar sort of range-bound activity, but you'll notice that we are starting to peak below the 50 moving average, which for a lot of investors and for larger funds, they use the 50 as sort of a, go long above, go short below kind of activity. We may start seeing a little bit of weakness in tech if we lose yesterday's low. And obviously tech had a much larger sell-off because of how elevated the prices were. So similar range definition, but weaker daily when it comes to the moving averages. And I guess, let's look at triple or quad witching. Usually it's pretty synonymous. The idea is that today is a quarterly event where a lot of options and futures are either expiring or getting rolled into the next cycle. So for options, you typically see rolling events going on where you close out positions today before they expire, and you open up new positions in the next quarterly period, usually a monthly series. And then the futures are just getting rolled because they are expiring today. So this doesn't necessarily mean we have like a directional bias or anything today. It's more about the level of volatility that can occur from the rolling activity. You may see action in the market that is atypical just because of the amount of volume being rolled, and options and futures can dictate some of the stock activity. So it's a day where there's a lot of opportunity because of the volatility, but you can get things that are atypical, and we have to be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, as it says here on the screen, it only happens about 4 times a year, and we do have to be careful about it because, like it says, right, they can get unusual price action, and we're expecting some increased trading volume. So the volume is good, but because people are doing, they've got different objectives as they're are closing out their options, and with all these expiries, we may see some price action that is either like not event driven, right? It's not news driven, so it might not have the catalyst you expect because it's going to be driven by option expiries. Or if there is news on a stock and you have options expiring, depending on what the news is, if it's contrary to where people expected, that may drive a stock in a direction you're not expecting. So just be aware of it in your trades. You don't necessarily have to change what you're doing, but you should be aware of it, especially if you start to see unexpected price action. All right, thanks for that, Jared. Let's go back here, and we will get back to our review here. We can be us now. So let's get back to reviewing our gappers list, and I already touched on Sava. NNOX is back on the list here. Let's see what it's doing so far this morning. Not a great price action whatsoever. Any news on NNOX to drive it this morning?
Let's see. I'm seeing some news yesterday that caused some of the large volatility to the downside. Not really seeing much today. We may just be seeing a little bit of an oversold bounce. And yeah, I'll let you know if I find anything.
Okay. All right. Next is Play. Now, Play has been on our mind here because I know that we've had Thor who's been playing Play and has already taken some partials from an overnight hold here. So Play had rumor yesterday of bankruptcy. All I saw this morning, Jared, was news that they said that may be overstated and that they may be okay as long as they find funding, which is my understanding they haven't. Is that sort of what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, and we're seeing a couple of upgrades this morning from Raymond James and Stifel. They're announcing about a 20 price target. From a technical point of view, we slammed down pretty hard. We even lost the daily trend on that breakdown, which subsequently high volume on that breakdown is pretty important. But typically when you're coming down that quickly into some of your pivot areas on the daily, you tend to get a little bit of an overreaction and a bounce, maybe back to the trend line and sometimes even back into trend if it's really that aggressive. So a little bit of a catalyst to break trend on the daily, and we might see a retracement back into trend, which would be a pretty bullish technical setup because we'll get an engulfing pattern. So we'll kind of see how that plays out today.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I think Play actually could go either way. Yes, Sammer, you're right. It's no hair day here. We banned all hair. Yeah. So except for facial. Anyways, all right. So Kodak. Oh, don't we love to trade Kodak? I can honestly say this round I have not traded Kodak once. I have not taken it in all of this craziness. I don't know that I intend to. Look at the daily. To me, it still doesn't really look good. I mean, there was, ever since that news happened back in August when they had this big contract award, they didn't have the contract award. It's been jumping up on the list, but I don't like the price action. Anything new on Kodak, or is it just continuing its gyrations?
Nothing from this morning or yesterday. I believe the catalyst on the initial move higher was sort of taking away some of the litigation rumors against the CEO. Okay. But I'm double checking on that. And yeah, and I kind of was seeing a level of support being built around the 5.5 to 6.5 levels. We had a couple days early this week and I guess Friday of last week where things were kind of settling after that huge move higher. We were starting to fill some of that gap, and you could see small bullish candles forming, just holding levels of support. We almost came back down, sort of formed like another bear flag, and then obviously with the catalyst news, it was a alternate thesis sort of gap up, which led to a short squeeze. And it's a pretty common thing you see in these low floats where any positive news, a lot of the shorts are just kind of bailing out of their position. They don't want to get squeezed higher, and the momentum really comes in at that point.
You know, the price action doesn't look bad pre-market here, I have to admit. I still don't like trading Kodak necessarily, but you never know. Might be a good opportunity. We'll see. Tesla's on our list. Boy, Tesla's continuing to just move all over the place. Every day it seems to have some pretty big price action. Tough trade, but it's possible if you take big enough stops and manage it. I don't. Well, anyways, based on this move, what are we now? We've got about a 5% increase. You can see that here. Any news on Teslas or just moving?
We have Battery Day coming up, so I think there's a lot of anticipation into that event. The momentum's kind of keeping the price elevated.
What's Battery
We also
Day?
have a Battery Day is it's kind of like a conference event.
Okay.
So they're going to showcase some new technology, and they've kind of hinted at some of the things that they want to show.
Right.
So there's a lot of positive hype around that. Yeah, Wedbush and Piper Sandler both gave it target upgrades. So we're looking at like 515 targets, I believe, from Piper. And I don't know what Wedbush's is, but it's higher than it currently is.
So one thing I'll take the opportunity to point out right now, why can I not select this line? This is crazy. One of the things that I like to track on stocks is at 8 a.m. every day, you often get a settling of accounts, and you get a candle that looks like this. See this candle? You normally get a small body, big wicks on it. These wicks can often be the high and low of pre-market. Sometimes they're not. On Tesla, you can see it sets the high of pre-market, which happened to bounce off right back here just after 7:30. Has not quite set the low of pre-market as it was lower like way back after the close yesterday. But I like to mark the high and low. I use a different color trend line on this. In my case, it's yellow on my charts because I find that during the day, you can find an opportunity where it will use that as support or resistance. Like sometimes it'll bounce within a range on that. Sometimes it ignores it altogether. We jokingly in the room call it the tinfoil line because we don't quite know what, like, I don't know what price action causes other than the settling of accounts or why it's significant. But I can tell you in some cases it is significant and you can absolutely use it as support and resistance lines as I just said. So when I see these on a chart, I will mark them just as levels to pay attention to throughout the day. All right. So that being said,
it's interesting to note that Tesla respected those levels both to the low side, which was the start of the big momentum move at 7 o'clock. So you see a little bottoming tail.
Yeah.
And then the top is literally to the penny, the top of the tinfoil line. So obviously there's some respect there. It's likely that the settlements are also sitting around very large orders. And some of those settled from yesterday, some of them are settling today.
Right.
So it's very interesting.
Exactly. So proof in point, right? If you've got like just before this whole big candle, which happened on big volume at 8 o'clock, you can see pre-market it was supporting that level and using it. So it makes sense to me, anyways, to watch it. Even if we don't quite understand, the motivation or what happens behind it, doesn't matter. As long as the market respects it, that's what counts. So. All right, let's move on. We got a few to get through. I see we got BLNK that has come up here, BLNK that has jumped up onto our gappers list. Just 173,000 volume. It seems to all have happened in the last few minutes here, pretty much, or enough to get it over 100,000 mark. Price action has been terrible until the last few minutes. I don't know if there's some like immediate news. I know I'm throwing a wrench at you here, Jared. Any news in the last couple of minutes you see on BLNK?
Nothing early this morning, but we did have a very strong day yesterday. So I'm kind of chalking this up to Tesla strength because Blink and Tesla are somewhat correlated in the technologies, and also a little bit of a bullish continuation move.
We got in the room, Jesse's
And
helping us out. Blink announces acquisition.
yeah,
Oh, so they've got an acquisition of car sharing of electric vehicle accessibility. So another company, basically. Okay. All right. Good to know. Thanks, guys.
very interesting.
And gals for that. Let's see what's next on our list. NIO. Not to be confused with INO, but we seem to have electric cars and battery companies, anyways, on the list this morning. Maybe this is related to, what did you call it? Battery Day. But anyways, NIO's on the list. Only up just over their 2%. We only see things on a gapper if it's over 2% and it's traded more than 100,000 shares. So NIO always has big volume, but it's only gapping just over 2%. So probably no specific news on NIO, I'm guessing, Jared?
There is a mention of a 6K show will redeem 8.6 equity interest in NIO Holding. Not sure how to interpret that, but yeah, there is some news. I just need to see exactly what it means.
Yeah, fair enough. Continuing our theme here, Workhorse is on our list. So terrible price action. Yeah, I can't imagine there's anything. You can see, guys, in my chart. Look at how many days I've marked the tinfoil lines. It's all these yellow lines that you see on my chart here. These are all previous day tinfoil lines that I've marked. So sometimes they're relevant for 2 or 3 days. I don't find after that they are too much. But here, you can see, right, here's another instance where you get this candle. Look at the tiny little body, huge wick, and big volume. So, you can see these all the time. So that's the type of thing, like I said, when I find them, I will absolutely mark them so that I know where the top and bottom. Once again, this sets a high of the day, but not a low of the day. But if I end up trading Workhorse, which I don't usually, but occasionally, it comes onto the, it comes onto my scanners, or it catches my eye, and I will trade it. For now, guys, I think I'm actually going to delete it off my pre-market list just because that price action is bad. Last one is PENN. Now, gaming stocks, I know we were talking about them yesterday from DKNY, Donkey Kong? We lovingly...
DKNG.
DKNG, sorry.
Yeah, DKNG.
DKNG. Anyways, that we lovingly call it Donkey Kong, which is really DraftKings, and PENN Gaming were both ones that I know Brian and others were mentioning. Again, here's 8 o'clock candle. It's barely on our list at 2.1%. Jared, anything interesting going on with that?
No, I think just a lot of upcoming optimism for sports and sports betting. We obviously see a little bit of correlation between those names, and as long as some of the major names stay strong, we'll see other names like PENN, maybe even GAN, similar sort of price action and catalysts.
Right. Okay. We'll keep an eye on that and see if that happens. All right, on the down list, what do we got on the downers? On the downside, Beyond is leading the pack here with a gap down of 4.6% right now, 166,000 shares. Terrible pre-market action. I have to say, though, hold on, let me just remove that line. The daily looks interesting to me as it sort of hit this top for 2 days. Now it's gapping down a little bit. There may be an opportunity. Any news driving this, or is this just price action?
I see JP Morgan gave it a downgrade to about a 122 price target. I would say of some of the analysts, JP Morgan tends to be fairly well respected. Other than that, not seeing too much.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it on the list for now because I could set some levels on the daily. I don't know that I'll be watching it, to be honest, but I'll keep it here just in case. It seems odd to me that CUK is on our list. This is the, I don't know what to call it. It's the secondary symbol for CCL, which is what I normally trade. Like I mentioned yesterday, for Carnival, CUK is usually the one that trades lower volume and just worse price action. But I see CCL is only up 1.4%, whereas CUK is up down 1.4, where CUK is down 3.7. Again, unless there's a big catalyst, I'm going to ignore both of them and only take them if they jump up on gappers later. So we'll leave those two. Fastly Inc. gapping down 3.1% right now. Not great price action. Daily looks pretty flat to me, so I'm not seeing anything exciting there. Jared, unless you tell me otherwise, it's another one, so frankly, I'm just going to delete off my list.
Yeah, not seeing too much. We do have lawsuits filed against Fastly and also Blink, which was mentioned prior as a gapping up candidate. Not too sure how much of that is accounting for this price action, but it was announced yesterday.
Blessed and Ashley in the room are both saying that CCL is apparently selling some ships to sell money to get some money. So that's interesting. I'm not sure who's a buyer of ships right now, but I can't believe they're going to get good return on their investment. But I guess when you're desperate, you know that's when you go to the pawn shop, right? Whenever you can go to the pawn shop with a cruise ship, see what they'll give you for it. Put it on layaway.
Maybe they'll convert them to some oil tankers if crude keeps falling like it does.
That's right. Okay, EPRT is not one I'm familiar with. What is this? Essential proper. Oh, Realty Trust. All right, guys, I'm not even going to waste time. A Realty Trust, I will never trade. They do not trade well. The pre-market action sort of bears that out. It doesn't look good at all, so not something I'm interested in. And the last one on our gappers for the moment is SRNE. SRNE can be a good mover. Again, it's daily's looking. Ooh, what's going on here? SRNE. There we go. Daily's not doing anything particularly special. Pre-market action, not great, but I do have my tinfoil lines here. Again, using this, so I might as well set while I'm here. Any news on SRNE, Jared?
I am looking and not seeing too much. Let's see, nothing major that I can see.
People have got me interested on CCL with them selling ships. So if I look at the daily here, what's the price right now? $16. The low of the... I've got this. We'll do levels, by the way, guys, after we do announcements. But look at this 50 moving average on the daily down here that I'm seeing it sort of hit pre-market. It's come up off of it in the price action, but that would be a level to watch. If it drops that could be significant for a gap down. So maybe CCL is worth at least setting some levels on. I'll leave it there for now, and we'll see what happens. Okay.
Yeah, I think that type of catalyst can be interpreted both ways. You know, you're selling because you need the money, so maybe that's bearish, but you're selling and getting money, so that helps your, overall outlook on your company, which might be bullish.
I think it's going to
depend. I think technically.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it depends on how the market perceives the value of the sale in a lot of cases, right? Like if they really feel that they're literally in a fire sale and getting rid of it, then that'll probably be driving the price down. So.
Yep, I agree.
So I noticed UNG jumped up on our list. Not something I trade, but I know that you are looking at these indices, and this is the natural gas fund. It's down here, it's up. And now it's dropped off my list because I see it's hovering right around the 2% mark. That's why. I don't know if there's anything interesting going on with natural gas. We're getting into natural gas season. It's just about its time with the cold weather coming on in North America, but not something I'm going to take a deeper look at. Okay, guys, let's take a look in the room and on YouTube. Any other tickers that you guys want us to take a look at? Edwin's throwing in INO. INO, it's not something I've traded. Pre-market activity looks pretty good, though, actually. Again, here we've got our 8 a.m. candle. This is a smaller candle compared to the overall pre-market price action, but it's there. You can see it here. I just marked it. Pre-market looks pretty good. INO could be a tough one because sometimes it's up and sometimes it's down, and it's I just never quite know what it's doing, but let's we'll put it on here because it's interesting enough. Whoops. This is what yeah, there we go. INO. Any news on INO that you can see, Jared?
Let me take a look. No, nothing at a glance, but
Okay.
no, we had some news yesterday.
Right. Okay. Well, let's.
There's
I'll put it here, and then we'll move on to a couple others. Oracle. Somebody mentions. I don't like trading Oracle. I don't find it a good trade. Pre-market, it doesn't look great to me. Again, look at this 8 a.m. candle. Big candle here. Oracle sometimes doesn't even trade that big of a range. This is about a $2, little over a $2 range here. So, anyways, not something I'm going to put on my list. On YouTube, Hater is suggesting Apple. Apple's been. I find it weird. So again, as long as you avoid the open chop, you can find a good trade. But it has had big wicks, and it's been. I think if you're trading it, my opinion is you have to trade it in slightly bigger ranges than a very quick scalp. You can see I've been marking these tinfoil lines quite a bit, so they're all over my daily chart. But I can't. I don't think there's any. Let me get rid of them. I don't think there's any news, at least not that I saw. Any news catalyst for Apple today, Jared, that you see?
No, I think there was a little mention of online stores in India on September 23rd. They're launching that.
Okay.
But overall, I kind of view Apple as like a market sentiment gauge a little bit. You know, it's definitely one of the largest market caps, if not the largest at this point.
Yep.
And you know, if the Qs, the Nasdaq is going to be weak, we should see weakness in Apple. Same thing if it's strong. So definitely look at this one as sort of like a yes no of whether we're going to lose support or break resistance in a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's a range here on the daily that Apple has gotten into, relatively narrow for the price action. That the top side is a little less defined to me than the bottom. So I would watch it if it breaks low, if it has a weak day. So we'll see what
Right.
happens. Apple might be worth watching. We'll maybe set some levels on it. And I was just, I was gonna say hi. See, I had noticed over your right shoulder that he or she had wandered in there, and I was gonna say hi, but now they're gone.
Yeah, it looked like she was ready to leave, so I was trying to find a moment to let her out.
There you go. All right, Facebook was the last one I saw on YouTube being mentioned, and we're running a little bit behind here, so I'll take a look at Facebook. I don't see anything exciting. Facebook has been a mover. Again, this candle, actually bigger body on it, but we'll just mark the highs and lows of that. Facebook has been one that I find that you can only start trading at around midday once you figure out, and it sort of settles out and figures out what it wants to do. So anyways, that's been my general read of Facebook, so I don't think I'll keep it on unless we got enough to set levels on. So that's what I've got here. I think it's time that we get ourselves to some announcements. So if I can hand that over to you, Jared. And I forgot to change that one. That's not your Twitter handle there, Norm BBT, but we'll have to let you go with that.
No problem. So looking at our next week calendar, we have Module 3, Importance of Discipline in Trading. This will be Mike B presenting. So talking about the level of discipline that all traders require to be consistent, making this a profession, making this a business, and how that discipline can translate into your trading plan and your trading style. So a lot of that is going to be covered with Module 3. That'll be on September 22nd at 8 Eastern Time.
8 p.m. Yep.
All right. And then next week, once again, on Wednesday, September 23rd, we have the boss man himself, Andrew, Trading Momentum at the Open, a scalper's guide to the 1 minute opening range breakout. So one of the first patterns that I ever learned was the opening range breakout, break up or break down. And over time, as I've developed to become more of a scalper, I actually find that the lower time frame orbs give you some of the best risk to reward, especially in the open. So Andrew's going to talk about how he trades it. He's going to define it, talk about criteria that he's looking for to get in. Hopefully we'll get some nice level 2 time and sales information about it. And yeah, you can start to see how getting in early, even amidst all the volatility, can lead to some really good setups, especially in the morning. All right. So our member trade of the week, we have our weekly iPhone 11 Pro giveaway. And what we're asking for here, I believe, is to submit your live trade each and every day. So we're looking at trades of the day. And you want to provide information about the trade, the setup, what you were looking at to get in, what you were looking at to partial. We will evaluate that trade and choose one as the member trade of the week. And that's going to be the person who gets member trade of the week will be able to mark up their trade, and we will share it with their trade book and recap. So after choosing the member trade of the week, we'll ask for a little bit more information to kind of clarify and solidify how that trader got into that trade and made such a successful recap. So thanks for pulling this up, Peter. I was trying to remember some of the hashtags. So for the trade of the day, you want to tag Bearable Traders, Mike B, BBT, and Norm BBT, and then use the hashtags BBT Family, Day Trading, and Stock Market.
Excellent. I'll just go back here. One thing that we didn't mention, this Trading Momentum, we watch Andrew trade live every day in the room, and it's a fantastic experience because he shares that openly with us. This will be an in-depth view of how does he look at that, how does he trade that, and this is going to be live on YouTube. So for all of us out there in the YouTube community that haven't yet joined Bearable, you want to know sort of a little bit more about the strategies that happen in the room, this will be an opportunity to see one of those strategies. We teach them all the time. Wednesday, for example, I taught my lightning bolt strategy, and that's a member value that we add in terms of going in depth. Exactly how do we manage the strategies? What do they look like? How do you take an entry and exit? How do you manage the trade maturely? Andrew's going to take you through that, and it'll be live on YouTube next Wednesday the 23rd, again starting at 8 p.m. So stay tuned for that. You'll find it on our YouTube channel. Okay, thank you very much, Jared, for that. We'll go back and we'll set some levels.
You're very welcome.
So, guys, I'm going to have to go fast to get through these. We'll try our best to set some levels here, and try and stop me if you see anything that I missed. So first on Sava, I've got a high here of 841 that I like off of this candle. I'm just going to change. So I use two different colors, by the way. My tinfoil lines I always put in yellow. My daily levels I put in purple, that way I know that it's a distinct color. But anyways, so I'm going to set that for a low. A high I'm going to put up here towards this candle, because going back in time, back in May, I can see that it set a high, so I'm going to put one at 995. And then I've got the pre-market highs and lows on the downside, so I don't think I need to set much else. I'm just going to leave that for now. Let me just quickly go back in time. There was a spike high here around $10, $10.95. I can see that high, so I'm just going to put a daily level up there for Sava. NNOX. We're hanging out here on the daily. We are up 10% today, but it's coming from a down place, so this is interesting. In fact, 2 days ago high, you can see right here. So that's already set for me, so I don't need to mark that. And notice it's just a little bit higher, but coincides with a level here. So I'm just going to leave that. On my chart, though, I will set, whoops, if I can get back to the right place, I will set a high at the high of this candle so that I've got that. And let me just quickly, this was a recent IPO, so I have no other history. Okay, so not a lot of history to go off of here. So we'll see what happens with NNOX. Play, as we've talked about. I'll just scroll in here to the daily. Since we're doing this, let me expand the daily, make it easier to see here so that we can focus in on. So highs and lows of the previous days are up there. On the low side, I definitely see a consolidation down here around 1150. So I'm going to put a level there. Should we happen to recover and break to the upside, I like the top of these two candles that are sitting at, let's see, 2012 and 2017. So I'm going to put my level somewhere just around the high of both of those. That's not going where I want it to. Config. So one of the things I like to do is I'll put my level at the lower of the two, just so that I know it's going to hit it first, and then if it goes past it, that's okay, but at least I know, because it's always a range when you set these daily levels. But anyway, so there we go. There's a level for me to watch on play. Kodak, as I've mentioned to you, not my favorite stock. However, if it does move up further, look at this consolidation if we go back in time a little bit. I'm going to mark because this is a gap. So it came down, it sort of consolidated here and then gapped down. So the low of this is 1286. Is that right? 1286 is that low. So let me make sure that my level is at 1286. So there we go. By the way, if you guys don't do that regularly, once you set a level, let me randomly set one up here, for example, right? So put it at 44.44. Sometimes it hits the top of the candle right away, which it did in this case. If it doesn't, all you have to do is right-click on it, go to Config, and you notice I changed the color. I was whipping through this quickly. Or you can change the price, and I could change the price to put it at whatever specific price I want. You can also do it by dragging and dropping it, right? I can drag it wherever I want and drop this thing, but if you wanted to set it sort of manually, you can do that too. So just different ways to set your levels if you're not familiar with it. All right, Tesla. Let me put a level here at the high of the day. I'm going to put one, sorry, at this high up here, 502.49. I find this is a good example, guys. When you get the high price stocks that move a lot, see when I click my level, it looks like it's at the top of this candle, but the level's at 502.92. When I actually click on the candle itself and get the details, you can see it says the high is 502.49, not 502.92. So I'll just go and change that so I know it's specifically at the right level. So that's a good one there. I'm gonna drop another one right here at the top of this candle because I like that area right here at 479. I'm like dyslexic. I'm getting the numbers wrong all over the place. Anyways, so we'll set that, and then that's probably it. On the downside, I have some previous days highs and lows, which I can keep an eye on. So that's probably good for Tesla. Blink, BLNK, again, it's heading into a gap here. It's not a big gap, really. The high of this candle is 840. The low of this one was 855. So we only have a 15-cent gap. So that's not huge. But I will set one there anyways, and then I'll probably put another daily level right here because the top of this candle roughly coincides with the top of this one, so that may be significant. It happens to be right around $10 in both cases. So I'll just drop a level. There was 10.08 on this case and 10.18 in this one. So I think I'm going to put my level at 10.10. Whoops, 10.10. And that way I know it's there, and we'll see if Blink shows enough strength to even remotely get there. NIO. High of this candle is 2105, so I'm going to set a level just at 21. If it gets up there, it's looking okay. What's it like on the 1 minute so far? Not terribly strong, but you never know. It might get there. So we'll see what happens, though. On the daily, it does have this upward trend. You can see sort of on the daily chart. So we'll see what happens. Highs and lows of previous days set levels for me. PENN. Wow, look at that daily. That is a solid straight up daily. I'm going to have to go back in time to see if I have any levels, and I may not. So I'm going to set a level. Geez, I don't really have anything I need to set on the previous day high and lows. I mean, down here potentially. What is going on with my thing? Anyways.
Yeah, all-time high breakout.
Is it? All right, well, this is an all-time high. That does make it interesting. Because at an all-time high, these things can tend to push higher, so maybe it's worth keeping PENN on the list for that reason. Beyond, well, we sort of hit this short-term high. I'm going to set, a level. I don't actually want that level there. I want it up here. Tops of these wicks on the candles. Again, previous day highs and lows sort of surround current price action. I'm going to leave it just like that. SRNE. Interesting daily. A little weird on SRNE. Big gap up yesterday, but the price action you can see was down all day. So it gapped up, hit a high, must have hit a high early and then dropped throughout the course of the day. So today, to me, it's more likely to sort of fill this gap in here and play in this range, and I already have levels set against that. So we'll see what happens on SRNE. CCL, we talked about them selling. So if you're in the market for a cruise ship, I know where you can buy one. As for levels, previous day high and lows sort of surround this. We mentioned already this 50 moving average on the daily. So right now, I've got it marked here. 1560 is exactly where that level's setting. So I'm going to put a level there because when I switch from a daily to other charts, I absolutely want to remember the 50 moving average is sitting there at 1560 because that's an area I'm going to want to watch if it drops. It may pull up, as we said, and the high of this candle from a few days ago here is at 1723. So I'm going to put a level right there just to keep an eye on. And that's probably good for CCL. INO, which was mentioned by some members in the room on the daily. Previous days, highs and lows sort of bracket this nicely. Ashley's mentioning, I'll go back on CCL. She's mentioning the 100. Do I not have the 100 on this chart? Let me see here. I do not have 100. Well, look at that. Happens to come in. It's not really on at the right color, but we'll see what happens here. Sorry. We'll put this at this color so I know what it is. Where's the 100? Let's see. The 100 is coming in. I see what you say. Yeah, right up here into the price action at 1590-ish. So that might be worth keeping an eye on there on CCL. All right, last one to do levels on. Apple. I think our big task here is not setting daily levels, but convincing Andrew maybe not to trade Apple on the open. I know Andrew's listening out there, so we'll see. But if we do need daily levels, guys, we'll see what happens with Apple. It is actually in an area, again, we said sort of in this range. I like this up here. This would certainly be significant if it got over 118. But look at this consolidation area back here in the daily. It had a couple of gap days, right, that it's leaves this candle hanging in the air. To me, that's always a very significant level. So this low, which is already marked yesterday's low, I think will be significant. If we break below that, the next area to watch will be the low of this candle. So let me just clear all this junk out of the way. The low of this candle is actually 107.89. So I'm going to mark that. And if it 107.89, I want that exact in this case. And if it breaks that, we've got a clear air until 106.41. So I'm going to put this level exactly at 106.41. And then we'll see. If it goes past that, Apple's going to be having a really bad day, and we'll reassess. But that's probably good for Apple. All right, guys. That's it for levels today. It's a Friday, as Carlos always says. I will try and channel Carlos here to say, you do not want to go into the weekend knowing that you didn't trade against your rules. So trade safe, trade smart, and you can end the week, red or green, knowing that you traded maturely and against a strategy. So I hope you all have a good day and end the day green. Thank you so much, Jared, for sitting in with me and helping with the pre-market show.
Absolutely. And keep that quad witching in mind. Things are going to...
You're on YouTube. Please, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to join. Again, we've got that free YouTube simulcast webinar with our success webinar next Wednesday with Andrew, so you can join us there. Give us a like. We'd appreciate that. And give us your comments. We absolutely